Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again for another weekly update on news and information about DCS World. I'm your host, of course, Prickly Hedgehog, and as always, I do hope this video finds you well wherever you are, and thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome aboard. Let's get into the exciting stuff of this week's newsletter from Eagle Dynamics, which features some pretty exciting things, including the highlight of the F4U-D Corsair, which has received an update report, so we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. We also have a review of last week's changelog with regards to the F14 Tomcat, the A and B variants, which received a lot of attention and a new arresting physics build, if you like, new carrier behavior from the F14, which is absolutely fantastic. It probably deserves a separate video, which I haven't had time to do. Because of the release of the Hind, which of course dominated last week's news and has been an absolute blast to fly. An additional reference here to the C101 Aviojet by Aerges, so another third-party developer here. We're going to talk about that as well, plus I believe they're also working on the Mirage F1, which they're going to start doing a lot more work on, I think, now that they've kind of had some, space to free up, if you like, or maybe some resources to free up to focus on that, with the Aviojet now moving out of that early access stage, which is also good news. So let's talk about the Corsair first, which I know many of you have talked about in the past. It has come up in news here and again, and people have requested and demanded this aircraft. I didn't know about it in this way, but apparently it actually does not have the F4U-1, that is, sidewalls and a floor in the cockpit. So because of that, you can actually see a lot of the components inside the fuselage area, if you like, underneath your feet. And these things include panels and cables and pipes and switches and other things, which have been recreated using manufacturer drawings and original aircraft as reference. So that's going to be pretty exciting. What they've also done is used VR to ensure that nothing is missing that a pilot would typically see. So again, a high degree of realism in recreating this very cool cockpit. That's a neat thing. And right now they're actually working on the updates and texture adjustments to the cockpit model. And they're in final development, which is pretty cool. In addition, the systems development is also largely complete. We're talking here hydraulics, electrics, and basic weapon systems, which are operational, and Leatherneck Simulations will continue to tune them as tests proceed. The AN Arc 5 radio and the navigation equipment tests were completed earlier this spring, which is really good news. The decision to add the AN Arc 1 radio is still pending. Smaller items such as the oxygen equipment and the emergency landing gear extension system are also in progress. Also good news. Now, the full inventory of British and US weaponry will be represented closer to release. A number of stunning new features will make the DCS F4U-D Corsair truly unique. No dates yet on the actual release, but this is a very unique aircraft, especially with the wing shape. And again, I know a lot of you have mentioned this in the past, that you were waiting for an update. I believe that Leatherneck actually went back and had to do a lot of revamping after we had some changes in the core engine with Eagle Dynamics. So looks like they've ironed out those kinks and have reworked the aircraft, and it's looking pretty darn good based on this exterior image that we're looking at. And I suddenly remembered, is this Pappy Boyington's Ernest Borgnine, the Black Sheep Squadron? Is this the same aircraft? I suddenly had a flashback here to my childhood when I remember watching this as a kid on TV. If somebody can help me out with that. I could be wrong. I'm thinking it's the same aircraft. Anyway, again, let me know. But I'm looking forward to this. This is a nice looking aircraft, and I think it's, again, something unique. And again, it adds yet another aircraft to the stable of World War II aircraft that we have, which is looking pretty cool. All right. Turning to a more modern era, the Tomcat, which, as I mentioned last week, received an extensive number of updates, particularly in the mass dynamics engine, which brings a whole new level of realism to the F-14A and B. Unless you land it correctly, the F-14's arrestor hook will now skip over the deck to mimic realistic hook bolter events. Under extreme conditions, the hook can actually be caused to fail and will detach from the fuselage. Such realistic features truly encourage you to improve your skills and achieve by-the-book recovery procedures. And obviously there's a lot of, if you're struggling with this, and it's not easy, I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of information online on how to recover the F-14. It is a little bit more challenging than the F-18, in fairness. It's a much bigger aircraft. You've got a 65-foot or 64-foot wingspan on this beast, which gets a little hairy at low speed in terms of roll. You have to manage that pretty carefully. And of course, with it being so wide, that wingspan, you have to be spot on in your lineup as well, which is not easy to do. Remember too that this is something that real-world pilots faced as well. So if you're struggling, it's not it's not uncommon. And of course, remember, even regardless of rank, regardless of prior landings, it didn't matter. You were graded every single time, and if you couldn't keep that skill up, you were in real danger of being pulled off the flight ops, and potentially not flying aircraft because of the risk. I mean, the degree of danger is very, very high, and you had to be spot on. There's just too much at stake. So that's why Navy flyers are renowned, especially carrier flyers are renowned for their skill levels, and their proficiency and accuracy in flight. So like I said, if you're struggling with that, there's a lot of videos out there. It's not easy to do. Working by the numbers is really, really important, and getting it right is actually kind of a buzz, actually, I'm not going to lie. So nice job by Heatblue there to add this, and I'm going to get some more practice in, I think, and test out some of these features. All right, so we talked about the physics engine. We've also got some aerodynamic effects of aircraft carrier burble. So as I mentioned last week, if it wasn't difficult enough, they've added this little feature in. So this is for close approach, and this has been implemented to befuddle virtual pilots. The Iceman pilot AI has also been improved, and the AI can now navigate to specific waypoints into a holding pattern, which is really, really cool. That can free you up to then do some Rio stuff in the back, which is always a bonus. Other significant improvements include things like gesture reporting, night catapult signalization, autopilot logic overhaul, and multi-crew synchronization. The work being done right now means that the Heatblue team is focused on developing the next update of the Tomcat and the Viggen features, which ultimately should bring both of these aircraft out of early access. So that's really, really cool. And again, I know both of those aircraft are popular, especially the Tomcat. Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on that, and whether you've noticed a difference in challenges with regards to landing properly. All right, moving on, and obviously in connection to the F-14, Fear the Bones. Now, I haven't picked this campaign up. Sorry, Greg Gales and Reflected Sim. Haven't had a chance yet to do that. I've got too many other commitments right now, and another campaign I don't have time to fly, but I do want to get into this one. This is the Fear the Bones campaign, as I said, by Reflected Simulations. The theater of war is set in '89. We're talking here the cruiser USS Valley Forge. It's apparently been involved in an incident in the Black Sea off the coast of the Soviet Union. The USS Theodore Roosevelt is being sent to support the rescue operation with VF-84 on board. We have Jaws, Jester, Ghost, Pyro, Caveman, Grip, Elvis, and Glory. These are all hotshot F-14A Tomcat fighter jocks of the Jolly Rogers Squadron who are itching to see some action. So note there the F-14A, so this will be its own little challenge. And they might just get more than they bargained for, according to the blurb here. So you get to join them in fighting MiGs, intercepting bear bombers, defending the fleet, escorting alpha strikes, and much, much more. All that cool stuff that you get to do from the carrier. It's a story-driven campaign. So kick the tires, light the fires, and make them fear the bones. This looks like a neat campaign. If you've picked it up, let me know what your thoughts are on it. I've heard it's suitably 80s and cheesy in all the right ways. Mimicking, and paying a little bit of an homage to Top Gun. And of course, as I said, the F-14A has its own characteristics, which can be a little bit challenging and not quite as responsive in handling power to weight ratio with regards to those older TF Pratt & Whitney engines. what is it, the TF30s? I can't remember what the acronym is. Anyway, somebody help me out there. As opposed to the GE engines, which came a little bit later on the B variants and the D variant aircraft, which we won't see, unfortunately, in game. There's a whole thing there with that. Not because Heat Blue doesn't want to do it, just because they don't have access to the information that they need, sadly. So I know this comes up all the time. When do we get the D version? When do we bother flying these other crappy ones when we have the D out there and we have the F-18 and we can, blah, blah, blah. I know, I get it. I totally understand that. But the reality is the information isn't available to Heat Blue. Nevertheless, the work that they have done on these early models, like the A, is absolutely fantastic. So let me know what your thoughts are, and let's kick to the next piece, which is the Aviojet. This is the final version release. Now, I can't say I know much about this aircraft. I did have a little bit of a tinker with it at one time. Haven't spent any more time on it, so maybe I need to download it for free and have a little play and see what this aircraft is all about. Of course, it is a two-seater, and Aerges has announced that the Jet has reached its final version state in the latest open beta update, which is good news. After finishing multi-crew and implementing the combined controls mode, the module is now complete. Product support, especially when it comes to bug fixing, of course, will continue, and that's a natural thing. The Aerges team has now started gearing up to accelerate work on their exciting upcoming new module, which is the Mirage F1. And I know a lot of you were thrilled to see this aircraft. It's very, very well known, used in several different countries, of course, and a lot of you are looking forward to seeing some variation of that in game in the near future. And what has been showcased thus far looks pretty cool. So that's pretty much it for this week's newsletter. No more news on the Hind. There were a couple of little updates, some minor bug fixes this week with a smaller patch, which you may have noticed, just to correct some minor errors. Those will continue, of course. Nothing new there. Nothing should be too surprising. A lot of these works that we have in the game are a work in progress because, when you have an aircraft like the F-18, which has taken more than 40 years worth of man-hours to produce, it gives you an idea of just how much complexity and how much work needs to go into these aircraft to make them realistic. And Eagle Dynamics is right. There really isn't anything else out there that recreates the number of aircraft that we have that are combat aircraft, relatively late model, like the F-16 and the F-18, that are highly detailed, very, very realistic to fly, and perform well in a modern theater of war. And while we don't have a dynamic campaign right now, we still have the opportunity to do some pretty cool stuff, even as a solo player. It's not quite as much fun as flying multiplayer, I must admit. Again, depending on what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to do. But again, some really cool stuff going on, and Eagle Dynamics deserves a tip of the hat. The update to 2.7 has been fantastic. It's now available also in the stable version. We have the opportunity to download aircraft for a couple of weeks and trial them, which has never happened before. So it's a good time to get into the game and enjoy the summer sale. Enjoy the downloads for a couple of weeks. Experiment with that and some new maps. And yeah, keep looking forward to what else Eagle Dynamics is bringing to the table for us to dine on, including the Apache, including the Marianas, and hopefully the Mosquito is somewhere out there. Hopefully we can get some word on that soon, because that's another fabulous World War II bird that people are looking forward to, and a lot of disappointment was expressed when it wasn't available. But Mr. Gray was not happy with the product as it was, at least the exterior model, and it's being reworked. So that's a good thing. Better than releasing a product that perhaps isn't quite up to spec and leaves a bad taste in the mouth of the fans and the community. So there you have it. All right, let me know what your thoughts are on the topics that we have discussed this week, whether or not you're playing with the Hind, what you're learning, what you're working on, how the summer is going, whatever, off topic, whatever you want to do. Don't forget to like and subscribe if feasible. Let me know what your thoughts are on the channel. Hopefully I can get the sound balanced properly this week. I do apologize for that. I do have a couple of issues with my rig. I don't know if it's something that I'll ever be able to fix. I do have some stuttering, and I do have some issues with this latest Vegas 18 program that I've been using, which I'm gotta be honest, I'm not completely satisfied. It seems to crash a lot. Sound issues, like I said, leveling, stuff I don't notice on my rig when I reproduce something, and then I put it up online, and then you guys let me know that the sound is out of whack, and you know, that's kind of embarrassing because I don't hear it. And I had to go back and double check, and I play around with the volumes, and then I'm like, yeah, I can see how that could be a problem. So again, but I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the honesty of people, and it's constructive for the most part. I don't have too much nonsense. Most of you guys are pretty much sensible people who play DCS World. You have to be fairly level, I think, to play this game. This isn't a you know, a teenage wonderland out here. This is for people that are a little bit more mature and have a little bit more dosh to play with, because it's an expensive hobby. Based on what I've seen, it's a large majority of you appear to be professionals, 20s and up. Not many teens playing this game. There's a few of you out there, and I respect everybody that enjoys the game. And as my friend over at the Air Warfare group was saying, Juice pointed out that if you are a teenager right now looking to get into the Air Force or the Navy or whatever else, or the equivalent thereof, and wherever you're living, flying DCS is actually a real bonus to you. It's going to help your career if you are that way inclined and are very serious about it. There's potential there to learn aircraft in such a way that it's actually going to benefit your long-term career, which is a pretty cool thing. So for us, for those of us that are old, those days are, well, that opportunity has sailed already. It's just a fun way to you know, experience a little bit of real flying. So okay, that's enough. I'll wrap it up. Take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking and subscribing. And we had about 400 additional subscribers this month, which is good news for the channel. So keep doing that. It helps the channel chug along. It really is important. And I will talk to you around and enjoy chatting with you online. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.